Hey guys, today I'll show you how to beat your opponent in just 6 moves, starting with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6 and bishop c4, and we have entered the Italian game. Now your opponent might play knight to f6 and we answer with knight to g5, attacking the pawn on f7. Now black has to play d5 in order to prevent this threat, and we simply take on d5. Now the usual move is knight to a5, which is a theoretical line, but some beginners or amateurs might play knight takes d5, and this allows us to make a really good answer and have a winning position. And this is entered by knight takes f7, a 2 exclamation marks move. King takes f7 is necessary. Now we play queen f3 and we attack both the king on f7 as well as the knight on d5, so king e8 would be a losing move because we can simply take the knight on d5. Therefore, black has to go with his king to e6. Now we continue attacking the knight on d5 with our knight on c3. As the knight is pinned, black has to defend it, either by something like knight to e7 or knight to b4. Well, if black played knight to d4, we could simply take on d5 and play queen to d3, and after bishop f5, which has the idea of getting a fork on c2, we just simply have to remember that we can retreat with our bishop to e4 and everything is winning. But black could be playing something like knight to e7 and d4. We now want to open up the center, and if black decides to take on d4, you can simply give a check on e4 and win the piece back on d5. And even getting a checkmate on f7. And if king e7 instead of e8, we can get bishop g5 and afterwards checkmate on d8. Therefore, takes d4 is a bad idea for black, c6 is the better move. Then we just go with our bishop to g5 and loosen up the protectors of the d5 knight, so we're going to take the knight on e7, and afterwards we get out the big guns. We just make a long castle and rise our pressure on the knight on d5 and on lines d and e, rook f8, queen to e4, and you see now we have reached a really good position. The king on e6 is super weak because we have full control over the d and e line, but we don't even have to play rook e1. We can also just simply take on d5, and if he takes back, we take on e5. He cannot take our queen, nor does he can take our bishop because his queen would be hanging, and after a move such as queen to d8, we can just simply take on d5 and we are going to win in next to no time. Therefore, this winning position cannot be played by black, so this whole line is going to be doomed, and he has to play knight to b4, which is a little bit better because he tries to get a fork on c2. Castling, and now c6 again to protect the d5 knight. If he decides to take on c2, well, then there's no check, and we can simply take on d5 and have a winning position and even get a checkmate. Therefore, c6, and now again d4, we're just trying to rip off his protection. Knight to c2 is again quite bad. We can simply take on e5, and if he is greedy and takes a rook on a1, well then we bring out the next rook, and although he is up in material, he is going to be lost because there is no one participating and helping his king out. Knight g6, beautiful move to prepare bishop g5. So again, black is not allowed to be greedy. He should play something else, which is queen to f6, and that's the best possible line for black in total. And if something like queen d1, king to e7, and rook e5, and now this position is bad for black, but it's still playable to a certain degree. Knight to d5, for example, and then we can just take, and we have full control over all the pieces, over all the squares, and black has to defend very, very hard not to lose immediately. And therefore this position is a very good recommendation for white to play. So if you ever have this situation that after takes d5, knight takes d5, it's your turn, well, then I would recommend you to take on f7, sack your knight, and have a winning position. Bye bye.